So how's it going? What's going on in Jordan today?
Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
with
in
the
light of recent events,
yeah, it's been crazy and emotionally difficult. Yeah,
right?
so it's nice to hear your voice actually, other than in reels.
I know it's really funny. It's like it's kind of weird how social media can connect people from around the world, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
really insane. How long have you been doing videos and stuff on Instagram?
I think it's been 2 years, and I think it started with my first album. I released my
Right,
first album, and I wanted to, try to promote it and get people to listen to.
right.
And yeah, it was interesting experience. At the beginning, was mainly to promote my album, and then I ended up creating these like short reels, and try to enjoy myself doing in the process. So yeah.
How long did it take you to record a whole album? I mean, how many songs are we talking?
Uh, it's more like an EP really. I think it had like 7 tracks, 6 tracks. I forgot. Yeah. It took me 2 years, but it was on and off. Because I'm not. I'm by the way. Oh, that's my cat right there.
Hey, you've got a cat there.
Of course, she comes when the minute we start this conversation. She was asleep, by the way. But
All right.
cat, their timing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was on and off situation because I'm a graphic designer, by the way. So I'm mainly graphic designer. I do multiple things: animations, UI, UX design, music. Now,
I
so
looked
yeah.
I looked into because obviously before having a talk with you, I decided to have a look at your website and stuff. And after listening to some of your music, I can understand why you're so intricate with all the sounds. You seem like you really understand layering of different sounds and stuff. So you worked with games, if I'm not mistaken, as well?
Yeah, well, basically, I I started as a graphic designer, right? And then I always had this passion for music ever since I was like little. And I started by I took piano lessons when I was a kid, and then I grew up this passion of creating my own music because I didn't really like notations and stuff. I felt like studying, and I oh, come on. So I started basically creating my own music when I was first introduced to the world of games design and audio, and then where I started, learning about production, how to, so yeah, and games was a passion that I've had when I was a kid. So I grew up watching my brother playing games, of course, and therefore I was very intrigued by how a story about storytelling in general. So I do believe that storytelling is part of any art form, whether it's music, whether it's user experience design, whatever it is. So yeah, I think I kind of I kind of like come from that background where I started. I wanted for my album, I wanted it to be mainly about storytelling. It was about the story of my life, and therefore, yeah, like, people can tell sometimes. Some people come and oh, that would sound nice for a cyberpunk game or something like that. Maybe because it has some influence like from there. I think generally. So yeah.
So is that basically so are you saying that your desire to get into music started off with games basically and telling a story with the music in those games, really?
Yeah, yeah,
So what is the because you seem like you sample a lot of your own sounds.
yeah.
Is that something
I
that
did.
comes from I know a lot of people sample sounds and stuff, but I know in games specifically it's quite a big thing to sample sounds and that kind of
Uh,
thing. Is that where it comes from, or were you just
I,
naturally more like that?
I think, like, if I'm gonna go back in time when I was a kid, because we had limited resources, like we didn't have access to all sort of instruments and things, and I was trying to find a way to, you know, create music and record it. And we grew up in the time there was like no internet and mobile phone. I can't even believe. I don't know how old are you, but I'm guessing that
I'm 31.
you. Oh, good. You're in your 30s, so you're not talking to 20 years. But yeah, I mean, like is thinking about it. We grew up in the time where things were limited, and especially I think where I come from, relatively speaking, I think there's kind of limited access to certain things, especially electronic music. So I actually started recording my music and sounds using cassettes, actually on cassettes, and
I
you end
remember
up making
that.
whatever things you have. And when you're a kid, you have wild imagination. You go into, I don't know, so space, and you hear something resonating and you kind of like sing with it. I used to sing with vacuum cleaner. It has like a specific tone melody, like "Woo," and he said "Woo," go with it. So it's kind of like, I think that's where he comes from. It's just like when we were kids, we used to like observe things, and I think that's where, yeah, it's really started, I think.
And I've never, because I myself have done music. I'm originally from South Africa, actually. So I do understand the idea of being in a place that can be quite limited in a lot of things. At least it wasn't as advanced as Finland was at that time, I would say. Yeah, I don't know if I'm talking out of my backside, but I think so. But in terms of when you sample sounds and stuff, because I've never done that. I've never been. I mean, I would listen to something like a car driving past, and I'll be like, "Hey, that actually sounds really cool,"
Hmm.
But when you sample something, how much treatment do you give that sound before? Like, do you already have an idea of what you want it to sound like, or do you just want that raw sound?
Mm. It actually depends. Because I come from a designer mentality. Sometimes I end up, you see, it's a balance, all right? So
Okay.
it's a balance between, am I going to be technical and think about it in a technical way, like a designer mentality, or am I going to be very intuitive and outgoing? I'm going to take it in a organic way. So I think it's a balance between the two worlds. Sometimes I listen to a sound and I hear something in my mind, and I feel like, oh, that sounds like something. And I take it, I record it, and then I create that thing. And sometimes I'm not really sure, but I feel like it has potential. So I record it, and then I fill it with some knobs and stuff, and kind of like experiment with it and see where it takes me. So yeah, it depends really. Every time is different.
I remember this one time. I don't know if anything like this has ever happened to you. I remember this one time. It was back in South Africa. I was playing guitar and I was singing a song. And there was this one moment where I play this chord and I sing, and someone hooted outside with the car. The car was driving past and it
Oh,
hooted, and it was perfectly in key. And luckily, I was recording at the same time, and I was like, "Oh, what? That is perfect."
yeah, it happens. It happens a lot of, yeah, all the time. And sometimes when I listen to music, I have my headset. I'm at work or I'm someplace, and then some noise, outside noise comes in to play, and it just syncs nicely. So it happens sometimes. Um, and I remember like one day, and this might be a little bit controversial from where I come from, and I do understand why it's sensitive sometimes, but it was the basically I was listening to one of these Hans Zimmer classical piece. I think it was for a movie called Red. Uh, I don't remember the name. And then there was like a adhan playing, which is basically the call to prayer in Islam, right? And I mean, it worked. It kind of like
Mm.
blended nicely. And it was like, I was saying to my friend about it. It was like, oh, you should not do this. Or don't even think of like mixing them together. I do understand that, but yeah, I mean, these are like sounds, and sometimes they blend nicely. And yeah.
So what is the like I'm quite interested to know the music world in Jordan. What is that like? And were there ever types of music that you didn't have access to at all? I mean I know very my knowledge on Lebanon. I mean not Lebanon. What the heck on Jordan is very limited. So if you could just walk me through that, like growing up and being into music and
Okay,
yeah.
I do. So basically, I grew up listening to all sort of genres, multiple genres from different cultures, different countries. So there's no such thing as limited accessibility. Everybody can access everything, especially with the internet. Um, I kind of do sense that people used to listen more to Western music before than now. I don't know why. Maybe the techno in the early 90s, it was like, trends, and people do follow trends, and we are exposed to all sort of music. And I think I'm privileged because I was born in a family. We all have like this love to music. Each one of us like play an instrument or two, or have like a love for music. My dad used to. He's such a international person. He has such big love to all cultures, religions, and music from different backgrounds. He used to listen to some classical music, Japanese jazz, funk. I don't know. So he's very versatile, and I think I took that from him. He has a huge influence on my life and my musical journey. And yeah, I grew up listening to different styles and different genres. That's why I'm calling myself a genre-free musician, which is crazy. I mean, that's a huge challenge in itself, to call yourself like that and assume that you're going to succeed in music. It's definitely not easy. But yeah, in Jordan, I think everyone can like listen to any type of genre. There's no limitation. And I don't have particularly, I'm not particularly interested that much in um, in certain local music, maybe, or cultural Arabic music specifically. It's just like I did not grow a taste for like specific things, but we do have definitely some rich music, and we have. And we also surrounded, like, we are close to Lebanon, Egypt, and, these are like big countries with big heritage and big music and musicians. And I see also Arabic music and Oriental music is being integrated also with the Western music in a really nice way. Yesterday, actually, we downloaded this Assassin's Creed game, the latest one. It's called Mirage. And I was astonished by the quality of the music. It's so beautiful. It's Middle Eastern instruments and Middle Eastern music mixed with, like, seen in a different lens. Like, I can see the producer or I don't know, I'm not sure, the mix engineer or someone who's arranging this music coming from a different background, because he's treating things differently, not in a traditional way. And the blend in the mix is really nice, and that's what's nice about music. Really, it's a universal language, and it can, you can come up with weird combinations and come up with something new. And that's what I really like about sampling, and that anything has potential in it. Any culture, any music, anything, literally. So yeah, I think that's what's nice about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I remember when I was watching some of your videos and seeing you sample and stuff, you reminded me of two people. The first was obviously because he does the same thing, Charlie Puth. Like I've seen him kind of do that, and and another, funnily enough, is actually Hans Zimmer, because I've seen I'm trying to think what film it was. Did he work on Dune? Yes, I think
I think so, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
I
think
think
he
so, yeah.
worked on Dune.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've watched it.
Yes, it's a great movie. I
It's
love it.
lovely, isn't it? I
Absolutely.
would hate to live in that world, but it's but the sounds and stuff, like how does he even come up with those such interesting sounds, like when that woman makes that war cry kind of sound, and the way it all mixes together. I'm like, some people are just incredible in terms of their ability to imagine different sounds. Do you know what is his name? He's like a crazy jazz guitarist. He plays all the instruments. Who am I thinking of?
It's hard.
Well, not a guitarist. He plays like every instrument. He's got perfect pitch. He
Wow.
wait, maybe if I can, because it's gonna annoy me if I don't remember. Um, what is this guy's name? Sun is in your Jacob Collier. Have you heard of Jacob Collier?
Uh,
I don't know if you've
I
heard of
think
it.
very familiar, but I can't. I'll search. I'll search on that. I can't remember the name exactly, but the person. It's very familiar. I'm gonna do some research on that.
Yeah, and I
'Cause
mean, the only reason I was bringing him up is because he's also quite incredible in mixing sounds and playing chords you don't expect should mix together, you know. And here's a question for you, because I started off as just a guitarist, right? A guitarist singer. How did you transition from playing real instruments and making your way into DAWs and using, I don't know if that's a push two behind you or something there.
Yeah.
Ableton,
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah. It was actually about creating music for games. That's where actually it actually started.
Oh, yes, of course.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in a company. It was one of the first companies in games in Jordan. And you know, it was like huge freedom for, you know, when you are a startup, basically you will find these employees doing like multiple things. You know, you have to wear multiple hats and do a little bit of this and this and that. I was an art
Right.
director in that company. And it was, for me, that was a great opportunity for to create music for games, not just to get some stock sounds and use it and recycle it. So that's where I started actually learning. I remember I took a music production course from Berkeley College, and it was through that Coursera website. And I was astonished about the amount of technical stuff that you need to learn. And I think I'm kind of like, I am kind of, I'm a geek. So I really like the fact that there's a lot to learn. And the thing is about music production, it's just like you never stop learning. It's just like every time with every piece you get better and you learn things, new things, and you go back to your old music and you listen to it. Oh, what the hell? Why does the kick sounds like that? And it's really cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I've always had this mind of a composer. As like I've had it ever since I was a kid, because you know I've always came up with my own music and tunes and melodies. Yeah, and yeah, used my voice as the second instrument basically, so I can layer things and try to imagine. And I remember actually my first attempt to layer sounds was actually a software called, it was very long time ago, maybe in the late 80s, 90s. It's called Multiquence, maybe, something like that. Such an old software. It's very simple. I don't think anyone will even remember that. It's not even a DAW. It's like a software that enables you to record multiple things and just put them on top of each other. So that was
Mm,
actually the first ever trial. I was really young, like I don't remember, maybe 15 I was, or maybe 12 or something.
right.
Um, yeah, that's
And what about performing in front of people? Is that something that you've
Uh,
always that you do naturally, or is it something that you find a challenge?
I, I don't do that naturally at all. I'm not easy. Absolutely not easy. It's such a challenging thing. I got an opportunity two times, actually three times in here in Jordan locally to play in front of people, and the first one was pushed by my dear friend. His name is Omar, and I say hi, Omar. And he said I do. He's one of the like people who really he's a big believer in what I do in my music, and he wanted me to play in front of people the music, the album that I created. And that was the first time I tried to actually perform in front of people. I was trying to figure out ways to do it in a way that makes sense, yet safe, not to make mistakes, because it was my first time. So I remember I created an extended version of my album, and it's more electronic, it's more upbeat so people can integrate because my album there's a lot of places where it has like long intros and it's very slow and stuff like that. So I thought yeah I should be creating like a longer extended version upbeat of my album, and then I played on top of like layers of live, and it went well. People were really surprised by the quality and the type of music was playing because it wasn't really commercial or something that it's familiar. It was and yeah, it was an interesting experience. Like even people from the street that were like listening, they heard and they came into the place and what is this? What is this kind of music? So it was really nice. It's nice to find people who would relate to your music because I've always questioned this, as I've it's a dilemma we go through our like as musicians with this changing pace, this fast-paced changes that is happening with the social media and what it's you know how much would I want to be I want to be true to myself, but at the same time if I'm a musician and wants to make a living, I'm gonna have to cope with these like changing big changes, and it's not easy. Um, you know, for me, I think I consider myself privileged because I do make a living out of doing other things other than music, so I don't have to, you know, compromise if you know what I mean. Long intros, long tracks that are not up to what's trending. Um, so yeah, it's that struggle. You try to balance between these two, but at the same time, I do understand the struggle the musicians go through with these like changes that are happening. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I guess that's an interesting question. I guess you kind of answered it, but I want a clearer answer in terms of the balance between being true to yourself and trying to make something that people might like.
yeah,
Because I've heard both sides of the argument. On
yeah,
the one hand, there are people that say that in this day and age, because of the internet and because we can reach so many people, there are so many different musical tastes. Regardless, I mean, I'm sure you've been on Instagram or TikTok and you see someone blowing up for doing like the weirdest thing. I remember once
yeah.
saw a guy, he was peeling eggs, like normal chicken eggs, and he was peeling them like not boiled or anything, but he was peeling them while keeping the membrane on the egg. Random, millions of views, right? So on the one hand, I need to get into egg peeling or something, but on the one hand, you have that, and on the other hand, you have people who genuinely just chase the trends. They just go for anything that sounds good, that people might like. They make it short, snappy. It needs to be less than what is it now? 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long.
Yeah, true.
Where do you see someone on that scale, or where do you see, if you were to be honest with yourself, what do you think is the more sustainable place to be?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to start with like breaking down why potentially this has changed. I think, again, because we grew up in a time where the listener's behavior has changed, right? Like the way we used to listen to music was completely different. We waited so long and we paid money to get that record or like buy that cassette to listen to the music. So we were willing to invest more time and we were invested. So I was I was ready to listen to the track and give it like like a chance to listen to it over and over and over again because I paid for that. So I'm gonna convince myself and put some effort, enough effort to listen. That was completely different, right? Because if it's not catchy within the first 3 seconds, it's probably not gonna work. And that's where I say, algorithms have, I mean, they're good, but also, they're not, I don't know, they are abstracting our lives, I think, into behaving in a certain way. It's our life is becoming more about optimization, optimization, optimization. Everything's being optimized and packaged in this really small, quick thing in everything in our lives, not just music. And and naturally, you will find musicians who used to make music in a certain way to struggle now. Oh, I can't make music with long intros. Like, I can't make music like so. I think but there will always be room for these people who are willing to search for experimental music and things that break the norm or break the nowadays rules. There will always be people of these people, but they're going to be few and it's going to be harder to get to them. So I think the balance will come from, you know, at the end of the day, you want to make music and you want to be, happy and content about what you do. But also do understand that there are a lot of musicians who, not, need to make money out of music. So you have to do live performances. They're going to have you. That's why we find musicians do like a lot of things because, streaming also and, maybe selling sound packs, courses online. And I think that's where when I started on Instagram, because I thought, I want to make music the thing that I want to, that can monetize me. I want to monetize myself through music. And then I found these walls. I have to, optimize myself into specific rules and ways. And the algorithms are becoming so specific. I've been noticing this on Instagram. I mean, not all my posts are performing well, even though I get quality kind of comments on certain posts. But because the algorithms didn't like or, predetermined that this post is people are gonna like this thing, or people aren't gonna like this thing. So I think it's being a little bit, a bit controlling, I think, which is, I think, where the struggle comes. Where we can be creative, I think, is to try to utilize these new methods and new ways of these social media and these marketing tools in our favor. So I do urge musicians to stay true to themselves, not to abide with these rules of these algorithms or whatever needs to be done in a certain way, because there will always be space for creativity and being different than what's than the norm or what's being trending. Yet maybe find a way to utilize these tools and their so that's what I think started doing on Instagram. I started, okay, I have good experience in creating videos. I mean, I do know how to do montage and I can create a quality kind of montage, but that's going to take time. And then the consistency comes to play, and I have to be consistent in the quantity, the quality, and the type of content that you create. Then you will find other people feeling bored of what you're creating, and you will end up
I know.
getting other type of fan base, and they're like, "Oh, you're becoming boring." And if you change, other people will be like, "Oh, why did you change?" And that's the case for music itself. Like people, you see those bands who change their style slightly, they will lose a lot of fan base. Yet they will get some new fans into the play. But those who stick are the ones you wanna aim for, I think. Like currently, if I'm gonna look at my situation now, I mean, I do have few fans that are like deeply in love with what I do. And they are willing to put time and listen to the new stuff that I create. And they will find people who are just like impatient and they were gonna be like, I'm just bored already. We get bored so easily these days.
We
So
do. And it
yeah.
also has to do with how fast paced everything is. It just,
Yeah.
we want something, you want to order food, you just go online and you order it and it can come straight to you. But I feel like the tension, at least for me, the tension when it comes with music is, of course, we all want money, we want to live well, but the tension comes where how much of your enjoyment of your music are you willing to give up to basically sell yourself to get an audience, and I
Sure.
think right now we seeing a ton of that. We seeing a lot of people who possibly don't even like the music they make.
Oh, that's
And
the worst. That's the worst thing. I can't even. It's really bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they're okay, like, and it's a balance thing. I think it depends on each person. Because if someone's going through struggle in life and they don't have other ways of making money, they end up doing this. I'm not sure how happy they feel, but I can't really judge. I think, but I personally, I can't put myself in that situation. Like, but I find music is the most, I think, genuine thing I feel like when it comes to, because I'm a designer, we do designs for clients, and sometimes you don't have to be genuine, right? So it's about what the client wants. So this is like the small, nice place where I get to be me, and being us also would mean sometimes that I might change. I learn new things. My music might change with it, right? And a lot of fan base may not understand this. They assume music is becoming more like a commodity, right? Like a service. People have like specific expectation. And if this expectation is not met, then you're not doing a good job, apparently. But so if it's up to us to decide, are we going to follow that model, or are going to be genuine musicians when it comes to this like thing and just do it, whatever happens happens. And sometimes for some artists who are genuine to themselves, they also succeed, and it's going to be more difficult and it's going to take time, but sometimes they do.
yeah, it seems like I've got a theory. This is me looking far into the future, and yeah,
Mm,
and you can agree or disagree. So I think because of new technologies that are popping up all over the place, and now you've got AI able to do some crazy things, I
true.
almost feel like this is going to be the time when musicians especially, and it's also reflected in all forms of art, including films and stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
this is the time where people are going to have to be as genuine as humanly possible to actually put their hearts and minds and thoughts into what they're creating, and make
Yeah.
it really well known that this is not some computer generated thing. And I say that in terms of AI. Obviously we use computers and stuff, but where we put our personalities into our music. And
Yeah.
I my message to artists, for me personally, will honestly be that this is the time to be as real as we can,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
otherwise you'll be replaced by a computer that can do what you do but quicker.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember my father used to say this. There will come a time where there's no space for being ordinary or normal. You will
That's
have to
beautiful.
be only creative if you want to be successful at anything, or just if you want to do okay, you're gonna have to be creative. You can't be just normal. And the time is coming. Apparently, we're competing with machines. So Yeah, it's crazy time. It's crazy time. I mean, if you think about it, it's funny that we come up with this technology because we wanted. Oh, the other day I was thinking about AI, right, and all this like technology, and we are creating things to make our life faster, right, and to make things happen really quicker. Okay, this will generate an image for you. This would in a matter of seconds. This, um, yet time feels like it flies by so quickly, and it's happening more and more. Like the older we get, the more.
Yes, this is mine. I used money on this, and then I'll sit
Yeah.
down and put
Yeah.
it in, and I'll sit and listen through the whole album. I will follow the story that the artist was trying to tell throughout the
Yeah.
whole CD, you know.
Absolutely.
And now we're in the age of singles,
Yeah.
where
Consume
yeah,
real quick.
yeah, because unless you're really well known, it can be difficult to get a substantial amount of people to listen to a whole album of stuff
True.
sometimes. And so now I don't know, I'm in between two worlds, because it's like we could either try and change with the times and just accept how things are happening, or we could try to be traditional, or
Lose.
we try and yeah, or we try and balance the two in between. But
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes I do look back, and I do sometimes wonder how technology will change the way we view music. And I've got a part of me that's hopeful, and another part of me that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
Music is a purely human thing, you know. What starts happening when I hear a song that really touches my heart, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. It made me cry, only to find out that AI created it.
Oh my God. That's the most horrible thing. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I mean, everything I think has like it has both sides. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's nice that technology has enabled us to do things because without the internet, I wouldn't have been able to learn how to do music production. Of course, back then I didn't have access to fancy institutes and stuff like that. It was easier for me to learn online. It's nice, this accessibility for things to be accessible for people. It's nice, but at the same time, when technology starts doing things, and I don't know, it's kind of like, I think for now it's still in the uncanny realm, right? The music created by AI. I heard some examples and I felt like it's still uncanny. I can tell that this is, but I think it is gonna get to the point where it's, I don't know, feels like.
Yeah, that feels like a really odd world to live in. So back to so you said you performed live 3 times. What were the other 2 times like?
Yeah. The second time was something I performed for like actually a limited number of people, and it was mainly to shoot my live performance. I reached to someone who has a drone and some stuff like that, and it was a nice view. But I didn't get to montage the video up until today. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people hating me for that. Um, and this third time was it was just one track what's it called? This thing it was for, it was like an event thing done by the embassy of Sweden and Jordan, and it's like a collaborative event. And I performed one track only. I didn't have time to prepare, so I just did that, and it was just very casual set up and stuff like that. And that was it actually. Yeah.
So what is your setup like? So do you use a MIDI controller? Do you loop live when you do perform, or like how do you go about it?
Yeah, first time was actually I had to structure the performance and I had to trigger certain things and I played on top. The third time was the second one that was like the first time, and this third time was how was it? I remember it was live mixing. So I had
Oh,
the layers. I mixed between the mixed between the tracks, and I triggered certain things, and I used the microphone. I also used a software called Doubler from Voclia. It was, I think it's, yeah, it's kind of relatively new, I think. And I triggered VSTs using my voice. It was an interesting.
hmm. That
That was
sounds
experimental. Third one.
that sounds really technical.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's only one track, because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, and people were really pissed off. Like, that's it. It's like, yeah, sorry.
Because I've been a solo
Mm,
artist for quite a long time, and most of the
mm,
time I've had a guitar and a stomp box, like the kick, you know,
eh,
and but I quickly got very bored of that. It was something I continued doing, but I felt so limited, and
yeah.
and I didn't trust getting a band because I feel like it's really hard to find people who care about what you care about as much as you do.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
I was always
Absolutely.
afraid of trusting people and then they just let me down.
Yeah.
And more recently, I've started playing with Ableton and the
Nice.
the MIDI controller. You get the push to, and Ableton's got this thing called the session view. I don't know if you use Ableton at all. Okay, then yeah, you probably know way more about it than I do. But
Well,
I was using, and I had one show where I used Ableton in that way.
nice.
And a few things come out. Well, a few things I could say about it. Number one, I feel like I probably should practice for much longer before
Uh,
performing live in front of anyone.
it's not easy, actually.
And number
the
two, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And I'll say number two is, instead of making all my loops from scratch, which I should have kept some already pre-made so I could just trigger them.
Uh, uh,
I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna be like this clever musician who just does this stuff. But it ended up being that I was so focused on not messing things up that it sucked the joy out of the performance for me. Where I
Oh
felt
my
like I
God.
was doing mathematics and not music.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, it's not easy actually. That like that this like live looping. Some people do it really effortlessly. It feels like, especially for long performances, like the stuff I do on like Instagram. Some of them are live looping, and most of them are not. But they took so long. It takes so long to just practice on getting it right, and it's just like 1 minute long maximum. So I don't understand, like, I follow this like musician from UK. Her name is Rachel K. Collier. I'm in
Oh
Numersi.
yeah, yeah. I bought her
So,
course. I read, followed her
oh,
course. Yeah.
she's so cool. Like I've been following her like ever since, like really long time ago. And it's impressive, like the live performances that she creates. And I feel like she's such an underrated artist, like with the it's not just the technical side, but also the artistic side. She's amazing, and she's one of my influences actually, and when it comes to music production, particularly. And yeah, so it's it's not easy.
No, it's not. And how do you? Okay, first question is, if I was a genie, right? I could, I could, uh, I could give you any wish you wanted in terms of your music career.
Mhm.
What would that be?
Wow. Okay. Music career, not a general question.
No, 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 because then you would ask for I don't know what. I'm limited only in the music side of things. This is the type of genie that I am.
That's the first thing. Peace.
Yeah,
That
yeah. Oh
that
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Of course, yeah,
With
yeah,
the current situation and
yeah.
what's been happening, and freedom. But yeah, as for music, um, it would be nice to have a hit, right? Like, who doesn't want a hit? And it's nice to be exposed. Like, what is an artist if there are no people to listen to their music at the end of the day? It's nice to have a bigger audience for sure.
Yeah.
But also, it's nice to just basically, if I manage to inspire like few of the artists, few people out there, I mean, that would be fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
I'm content. Like, I'm not trying to push my music so much because I know it would require a lot of money, a lot of work, resources. And so I let it be more organic. But it would be nice to have a hit for sure. Like, so because it's gonna open doors for other things. People will end up listening to the other tracks
Yeah.
and so on. So I think if I come up with something else, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Totally let me know because maybe I've got some latent power that I don't know I
Who
have.
knows?
I remember there was a video where you kind of mentioned
To my eyes, and I'm like, oh no, I do relate to that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of
was it
musicians.
the one with the
Yeah, yeah,
sign on the
yeah,
yeah.
that one, the trivia game video. I think it's called trivia, right? No, I think so.
Yeah, I don't remember what
Yeah. It's
Guess the
um,
name or
it's
something.
a cool one. I follow you and I watch all these videos. And by the way, the first time I saw your this video, I kind of sensed a genuine person. Like I just, oh, that's such a it's a genuine person vibes piercing
Thank
through
you.
these a platform these sorry reels, and I felt like, oh,
Yeah.
nice to talk to him. And here we are. We're talking to
Yeah, and here we are actually
really
because
privileged.
yeah, I mean it's also such a pleasure because I love to see people doing what they love. I'm
Mm,
drawn to people like that. Me as a person,
mm,
when I see someone enjoying what they're doing, I'm like, yo, I need to meet that person,
mm,
see what they're about. Because, and some of the videos that we make, the place that they come out of is for a while when I was in South Africa, I was a full time musician.
mm.
And I mean, I was earning my living from doing music. And it can be the most difficult thing sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It can be soul crushing.
True.
And the funny thing about that is that no one can seem to truly understand. No one can understand the feeling of working on a song and showing someone the song, and the person you're showing doesn't show any interest.
Oh, happened a lot. Or they're on their phones, or they interrupt the music and they keep talking. I'm like, this is my moment here. Like, listen to what I have to say. And this, oh my God, this happens a lot. I truly understand. I absolutely relate to every little detail that you have in your reels. Absolutely
Yeah.
happens. And it's also, we get attached to what we do. We're emotional about it because it's
Yep.
pure emotional process. And once you release it to the words, like you know, you're having a baby and you're just like putting it to the world. And it's not easy when you feel like you're being unheard, and
Yep.
it can be easily so demotivating, especially the amount of work that you have to put as indie musician. We do literally everything, like I did actually mention that. I remember in the story that I shared where I
Yep.
mentioned family music and where it
Family
actually
music, yeah.
can help you. That was saying people, you need someone sometimes to just guide you through the steps so it can take this stress out of you, because it is stressful not knowing what to do, and, have a lot of things to, like a long, huge checklist. And sometimes if you're completely independent, you're going to have to worry about creating the artwork and the music and the promotions, maybe potentially creating content. It can be a lot. And
Yep.
if you have a job other than that, it's also going to add to it. So it's not easy. Absolutely not easy.
No, it's not. And obviously,
And
I mean,
then,
I don't want to take too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, and then once it's out, your friend he's on his phone while you're
Oof.
like, so disrespectful.
I
No.
know. And I mean, I obviously don't want to take too much of your time, but how do you stay motivated then with everything you just described? Whenever you talk about what you have to do with your music, you do admit that it takes a long time. Your album took 2 years to make. How do you keep going? And what is the? I think it was Nietzsche, or I read this book by Viktor Frankl. He said you need to know the why, then you can accept anyhow. I don't know if I said it well. Basically, he said what your vision is will make whatever you choose to do worth it. Well,
And
if you believe something is worth it, you are willing to go through anything. So, what is that why? What is that why? And how do you keep yourself motivated?
yeah, I think because the process of making music, because music is part of who you are. Like, it's part of my identity, and I think it's the way I express myself to the world. So if anything happens to me, I'd be like, oh, I have my work to the world. It's out. It's my portfolio. It's an extension of who you are, I think. And that's why personally I'm not willing to compromise that much when it comes to the music itself. However, the means of marketing that music, I could compromise that as much as I want. I don't care. Like it doesn't really matter. Like the means of promoting my music. Like if I'm in,
Mm,
like some cheesy video, simple, funny, it doesn't matter. But as long as I'm genuine in my music, I think. And yeah, I do it because it makes me feel, you know, that might sound cheesy, but yeah, it kind of like does make me feel whole. And it is the most genuine thing that I can, you know, express myself. And by the way, I never regretted any music or any tracks that I did. Like I regret visual stuff. Like
oh,
I
really?
go back
Okay.
and see that really logo or that artwork that I created, and I'm like, ugh, that's disgusting. What the hell? But I go back to my music, even the ones that are really old on SoundCloud. I feel like, oh, I'm just so happy, even if the production wasn't really great, or I felt like, oh,
Mm,
it sound really bad or whatever. But it felt right then. So it
mm,
becomes like small milestones of who you are dropped on the way, like, you know.
right.
So it's like, you know, it's a heritage. It's like part of who you are. So I think, yeah, yeah, it keeps me going.
It's almost like looking back. Yeah, it's almost like looking back to a diary entry. Something, it's an image of what you once were. And I like what you said, and I think this is a perfect place to to kind of conclude this, where you said that the music is something that you don't compromise on. That's the one thing that you put your whole heart into, and you show who you truly are. But then you concede that in this day and age, to market that music, you sometimes have to do things that you perhaps don't like doing, or you wouldn't do it for fun necessarily, but you do it just to get the advertising for your music out there. I
You
think
want to just
yeah.
expand access to as much people as you want, and then
Yeah.
whoever relates. Who doesn't, then he's not probably your target. You know, as
Yeah. No,
I I,
that's true. Yeah.
I did see musicians like old style musicians like like let's say, yeah, I'm gonna say old style or traditional musicians
Uh-huh.
who never believed in like you know, this like fast-paced technology and stuff and like streaming platforms, yet you find them, they're still true to themselves. They create music that is just as amazing as it was before,
Right.
no problem. But you find them compromise on that. I'm gonna get on TikTok and talk about my album. It's fine, you know. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Because you know, it's inevitable. You can't run away from this like ongoing fast-paced growth and like, you know, social media and all that. So it feels, you know, you might want to be smart about, okay, stay true when it comes to the music. Try
Yep.
to see how you can facilitate these like technologies and tools to your benefit. So
So then, lastly, so what's next for you now, in terms of musically speaking? What are your plans? What are you hoping for? What are you working on? Do you have a roadmap of sorts? Like,
actually, it's kind of like it's kind of changing. It's not like continuous in like one, because with this changing time, I discover new things, and I also discover new things about myself or what really makes me happy. Yet I need
mm,
to take responsibility of my family, of life, and I need to make a
mm,
living, and you know, so it's an ongoing changing thing, really. I
mm,
started posting on Instagram in the hopes that I'm gonna be full-time musician, just making music,
mm,
money out of like music. And I did actually manage to make some money from music by collaborating with brands and some companies. I did some paid posts on like Instagram. I started selling assets on game stores for like, you know,
assets.
yeah,
I
like
thought
sound
I
effects,
thought I heard acid,
assets.
but
Oh, nice. No, definitely not that. But yeah, I mean,
Right. Assets. Yeah, sorry.
assets. Yeah. So basically, I started like selling some like sound effects and stuff like that for games. But then I got into this dilemma of like, am I gonna like I don't want to compromise, so how do I find a way? So I'm observing, like even on Instagram, the stuff that I'm posting, I'm more like observing behavior of both people and algorithms and how social media is changing. It's also, I think, challenging because there are things that there are par- parameters that I can't know for sure why certain things happen the way they do. And sometimes I ask myself, is it because I'm in Jordan, maybe my location? And also sometimes the events definitely has impact on whatever's going on social media. So therefore it's going to affect reach. The changes that happened lately on social media and this like lowered reach for so many people, not just in
Right.
my country.
Yeah.
And everybody's complaining about that. Like, Instagram trying to be like TikTok. Everybody's gonna trying to be like TikTok. So, with these changes, it's like you're gonna have to how consistent. What do I want to be? Because it's very demanding. These social media platforms. So you have to be consistent. Post 3 times a day or like 4 times a day. It's not possible. It's inhumane.
Yeah.
I don't have time, and I'm gonna end up compromising the quality. So I'm trying to push for what I want. Algorithms aren't really liking it, but I'm gonna keep doing it this way and then see where it goes. But generally, yeah, I would love to create music for film and for games one day.
Mm.
I'm not doing the work the way I'm supposed to. Like like trying to connect with like filmmakers, music supervisors, and stuff like that. So I do feel like I have potential in that field because I
Yeah.
I do like this like storytelling through music type of thing, and that is something I'd love to do. And yeah, ultimately, again, if I manage to, if I get to inspire a few people here and there, that would be fantastic. And to have this like presence internationally, and don't want to have this just like limit myself to a specific area or specific. I want to show people that music can actually connect us in magical ways. And yeah, we are
Yeah.
a nation
I mean,
now. The,
yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from,
oh,
and I guess there's so much to be spoken about because everything you just said there, I just had so many thoughts just popping up, but
no,
yeah, I mean, I really like what you're doing. Uh, that video that you made about family music was really cool. Really
thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
It was. We do hope to be able to. Well, not we do hope. Our whole business model is to help musicians and to get them to at least feel like they know what to do next.
And
Because it can be quite hard for musicians. Thank you so much, Arwa. It was. Wait, did I say that well?
yeah, you
Arwa.
did. Yeah, it's
Arwa. Yeah.
I don't expect people to like spell it in a way because in
Yeah.
Arabic it's Arwa
Oh,
Ismail, and it
Arwa.
can be difficult for some people to spell it. So Arwa, it's fine, whatever.
Arwa. Yeah, that's actually
She did
more
it.
the way you would probably say it here in Finland.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
spell that. Oh,
They
cool.
they roll the R's. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah. Have a freaking amazing day. It was really lovely to talk to you.
You too. You too. Thank you so much for this opportunity.